Hello, welcome as everybody is joining us, starting to log in. We're going to give it a minute or so and let people hop in, and we will get started here shortly. All right, welcome everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started here with just our introduction while we're waiting for everybody to hop in and join us. Just one moment here. Jen, do you want to unrecord for just a moment? Welcome. We are going to go ahead and get started today. We have an awesome opportunity to learn about technology and some tools for daily living today. And so we are grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation and for those of you who will join us for this. My name is Callie Cackley. What brings me here today is I am a parent of a child who has Down syndrome. This is my daughter, Mia. She is 11 years old. She is in 5th grade. And that's what brings me to this work and to the desire to support families that are navigating the world of disability. I also have 2 sons, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and a husband. And this is us. We live in Bend, Oregon. We're grateful for this community and all these amazing trainings and supports that we can both take advantage of and offer to families here. So just some housekeeping today. Everybody is muted, but you can use the chat box to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will address questions at the very end. We will go ahead and go through those in order that they came in. There will be some parts of today's presentation that are interactive. So when you're prompted, please use the chat box to type your answers so that we can hear from you guys. And we are recording this training, and the recording does include everything that's in the chat box and questions. And this will be available on our website in a couple of days for those of you who want to access this at a later time or reference it. We will also be doing a survey drawing at the very end. You'll have the opportunity to fill out a survey, and then in a couple of days, we will go ahead and draw a name and mail a self-care kit to the winner. So make sure you stay throughout the whole presentation today and fill out that survey to be entered to win. We're going to skip this part for the moment, and I'm going to go ahead and just pass it off to our amazing presenters today. We have 3 wonderful presenters that are going to take a moment to introduce themselves and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you, Amanda, and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Callie. Let me share my screen. All right. So thank you all so much for joining Stephanie, Jenny, and myself today to discuss some technology tools for daily living. Through each of our shared experiences in working with children experiencing disabilities, we have a lot of tools and strategies very excited to share with you today. And we're going to start off a bit by sharing about our journey and what brings us with you today. So this is my 8th year working with High Desert ESD as a speech language pathologist and assistive technology specialist. And I worked previously in a preschool out in Redmond, and then that's kind of where I initially fell in love with working with assistive technology, and particularly with augmentative and alternative communication. I work with kids birth to 21 in many of our Central Oregon school districts, and I really just love what I do and getting to work with families and teachers and helping them feel really empowered to work with kids with disabilities.
Hi, my name is Jenny Cubano, and I'm a parent and the program director for Central Oregon Disability Support Network. And as you can see, I have 3 children and my husband, and my eldest son, Christian, who is 24 and has a developmental disability. And this picture of Christian with the helicopter in the background is one of my favorite pictures. He is proud of the fact that he paid for his ticket and his room at a lovely resort in Hawaii with the money that he earned from his job. And the other picture you can see is Christian rocking his job at the Portland Providence Park soccer field. And when we're not in COVID world, that's one of his jobs. And his other job is at the Motor Center, and he gets to participate and work while the Blazers are playing. So he loves his independence. He loves that he is out in community and that he gets to have meaningful paid employment. One of the things that we're going to talk a little bit today about is Christian's access with assistive technology and how that has supported him through his journey into adulthood. Thanks, Stephanie.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Widler and I am the program assistant with CODSN. I've been in a variety of roles here since 2016. And this is me with my 2 sons. Sam is 8 now and Warren is 15 and navigating high school and teenagerhood, and that's all very exciting. And they are really what bring me here. As we're also navigating distance learning with my younger son, a lot of the stuff that we use with Warren has wound up being super useful with him also, in supporting him to be independent with accessing new and different learning. So I'm excited to talk about those things.
All right, so let's get started. Our hope is that today you come away with an understanding of what assistive technology is, learn about some built-in accessibility features on some of the devices that you may have in your home, and explore other technology options to help with daily living skills. Jenny, Stephanie, and myself will be sharing information from each of our unique perspectives, and I hope you come away with a few things you might want to try tonight or later this week.
Hey, Manny, I'm wondering if we should launch one of the polls right now, because we have attendees that might like to share where they're from.
Sure.
Can you launch the poll?
Stop sharing my screen real fast.
All right. Can you guys see this poll that I just launched about what brings you here today? If everybody could answer that, we'll give you a few seconds. Okay, so parents, we've got a couple parents here.
Awesome.
Okay, and then I have another one as well. Let me go ahead and launch this poll. This one is asking what age group best describes the child/children that bring you here today? We got 6 to 10 years and 11 to 15 years.
Awesome.
And then for our third and last poll, we're going to go ahead and ask, where are you joining from today? Which county across Oregon are you joining us from today? Klamath County.
Welcome.
Harney.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you guys for taking the time to do that. That's just helpful so we can know how to curate content and questions. So I'm going to mute myself and let you keep going, Amanda.
Thank you. Let me go back and share my screen. I love that we have some people from Harney and Klamath. Some of our, I used to go out to Harney, so it's exciting to see some people from some of our rural districts. That's great. So we are gonna first start off by talking a little bit about what assistive technology is. So think back to some of your IEP meetings or IFSP meetings that you've been in, and have you ever heard the term assistive technology brought up in any of those meetings or with any of your teachers? I guess maybe in the chat box, if you could type a yes or a no. And actually, I can't really see the chat box, so maybe Kelly, you could let me know if any replies come in.
Yes, I will let you know as they come in. I haven't seen
Okay.
it yet. Does anybody have an answer to that question from the participants?
And it's okay if not, if you've never heard that term before, we're going to dive into it and what that means. So it kind of sounds like a complicated term, but really it's a simple umbrella term for any product, equipment, software program, and or system that enhances learning, working, and daily living for people with disabilities. Assistive technology helps a person access activities in their daily lives that really would be a lot more difficult to do if they didn't have this tool. So many of us use assistive technology regularly in our daily lives. We just don't really think of it as that. So for example, I wear glasses. I use a timer when I cook. I use voice texting on my cell phone, and I use a calendar also on my phone. In the schools, many of the kids I work with use assistive technology tools such as pencil grips, wiggle cushions, platform swings, trikes, weighted blankets, and adapted seating, just to name a few. Some of your kids may be using some of those tools too. Those are all examples of assistive technology, and really they help our kids access their education and for a lot of sensory needs. So for the purposes of this presentation, we'll be talking specifically about tools that are tech related, such as apps, electronic devices, and built-in features of devices that all people, but especially people with disabilities, can use to make their lives easier. So I love this statement that assistive technology makes things possible. And we all benefit, like I was just saying, from technology, but people with disabilities really require technology to participate, to show what they know to everybody, and to be more independent. We're going to talk a lot about independence, and that's kind of an overarching theme of this presentation. So let's talk about maybe why we use assistive technology. So there's a lot of benefits to using assistive tech across all settings, but the ones highlighted are really relevant to our topic today. Like I mentioned earlier, it really helps with increased independence in daily living, play, vocational tasks, academic tasks, and play. Many of the students I work with require extra time, extra practice, and extra patience on our part to fully understand how to do something. So I've noticed that sometimes it's just easier and quicker for us to go in and help them and kind of rush them through the task. But, you know, it's important to really ask ourselves, is doing that helping teach them the skill and fostering that independence? Our students really want to be independent and thrive on being able to do things themselves. So teaching them to use some of these tools we'll be talking about today will help them feel confident in completing a routine or a task and prepare them for life outside of your home and outside of the school. And I think you're muted, Jenny.
Often a problem here. Assistive technology can be assistive and non-assistive. So, you know, I want to talk a little bit about how Christian has used assistive technology in vocational settings. So when Christian entered the 18 to 21 transition program in his local school district, assistive technology was a big part of his work experiences as a volunteer in workplaces. So they would use his telephone, his cell phone to show tasks that he needed to do in the order that he needed to do them. He would have reminders. We would use music to increase his productivity, visual cues for the tasks. He would have schedules on his phone. He would use whiteboards and sticky notes to help him with the processes that he needed to work through in the tasks that were required on that job. So then once he moved to paid employment, then we also used assistive technology to try and support him being as independent on the job as possible. So it's really crucial in a lot of the tasks that Christian does to have assistive technology assessed, and what can we do to make changes to the environment, and what can we do to make changes to the actual tasks that he's doing using video modeling, which we're going to talk about a little more later on in the process of the presentation. So really thinking about what tools do you have in your home right now that could enhance that independence piece?
Thanks, Jenny. So this is a little video clip that Jenny shared with me, and I really love how it just drives home the fact that independence is so important and how we should be, it should always be in the back of our mind when we're working with our kids who experience disabilities. So let's take a look at that. All right, and we have one more video clip I wanted to show you. Now that you know a little bit more about what assistive technology tools are, I have this video clip, and you know, as we're watching it, kind of keep track in your mind, see if you notice what tools this young woman is using in her daily life to help her navigate different situations in her life.
My name is Jodie Bell, and I was born with a profound hearing loss. When I was 1 year old, I started using hearing aids, and I used them for most of my life until I was a teenager, and then I started using cochlear implants. But even before my cochlear implants, I was also using other assistive technology throughout my life. Assistive technology is integrated into my life so fluidly, which allows me to integrate seamlessly into society. And to live a happy, fulfilled, independent life. Wow. I can't believe we have ended up.
So in the chat, what kind of tools did you notice that this young lady was using?
Can you see these answers, Amanda, or do you want me to read them out loud?
Oh, I can see them actually. So
Okay.
Jenny said that she saw an iPhone. That's right, definitely. Anything else? An Apple Watch. The flashing alarm clock, exactly. That would be really helpful for someone who might have a hearing loss. A couple ones that I noticed, you know, she had hearing aids. She had a cochlear implant, which is also an assistive tech tool. And then on her phone, she had her calendar to help her keep track of different appointments. So those are all tools that if she didn't have them, it would make her life a lot more difficult, and she wouldn't be as independent as she is.
My name is Jodie Bell, and I was
born. All right. So we are going to dive a little bit into what some built-in accessibility features that are available on your tablets, your Android devices, your iPhones. So many of our tools and devices that we have at home and that our children are using. So Built-in accessibility features are incorporated into most of our tools, and they're originally built to aid individuals with disabilities. Many of them are universally beneficial. For example, I use the voice control feature on my phone to make phone calls. Like I can say, hey Siri, call mom. I can create notes, and I use word prediction when I text to help with spelling. At the bottom of the page in the purple, I linked accessibility features of iOS devices and Android, so you can take a look at those. And they're also listed on a 2-page handout that you'll have access to at the end of this presentation. So there's other built-in features on our tools that we regularly use, such as speak screen, speak selection. There's word prediction and typing feedback. And those all have an auditory element to it that helps with some of our struggling readers and writers. I was just at a school last week, and I was helping a 6th grader who really struggles with spelling and paper to pen handwriting. And so we kind of explored the ability of using speech to text so he could get his message out, be able to answer and write, a paragraph without having that added component of struggling using pen to paper tasks. And so that was a real kind of light bulb moment for him that, oh, I can use this feature on my iPad to make things easier. Handwriting difficulty shouldn't be a barrier in allowing our students to get their ideas out, and assistive technology is just one way that can help with that. Another really great feature that I use all the time is guided access, and basically it temporarily restricts access to a single app. So it kind of locks the student into whatever app they are using. So for example, I use that. A lot of the students I work with have communication apps. And so in order to teach them that their iPad or their tool that they're using is a tool and not a toy, we lock them into their communication app so they can't go surf the internet or go watch YouTube videos. And it helps build that understanding that this is something I can use to communicate with others. I know that I believe, Stephanie, you use something called screen time. Is that right?
Yes. So as Warren is getting older and we're preparing to get him a cell phone and all that kind of stuff, we're trying to put some things in place first so that when he does have that as a tool, he'll use it effectively. And then also so that he doesn't spend all day, every day watching videos on YouTube. So in the settings, there's something called screen time, and there are a few different settings in there, something called downtime, and you can customize days, but basically you can say between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., the iPad doesn't really do anything. Everything's kind of locked down. He can send me requests for more time, but I can either approve or deny those requests, and I can give him 15 minutes or an hour on any given thing if he sends a request. You can limit time spent in different apps every day. You can limit it by category, which would be like you could limit video apps or game apps to a certain time period, or like an hour or 2 hours, however long you want to set. You can limit it by specific app, and you can limit it by specific website. And then once he hits the limit, he's welcome to send me a request, which I get on my phone, but it doesn't allow him to continue. The other piece that's really important for when he's learning to communicate with others is there's something called communication limits. So I can limit who he communicates with during the time his iPad is active. And so he has contacts, and he can contact any of those people during that time. But after 8 p.m., he can only contact mom. So he's not going to be calling someone at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night just to chat or say hi. We can also choose to let him edit his own contacts or not. Right now, he doesn't have that capability, but at some point he will. And then you can have apps that are always on, and then you have the regular standard content restrictions like adult websites, profanity, that kind of stuff.
And just to let you guys know, most of these things that we've been talking about, all these accessibility features, at least I'm an iOS user, so I use these all the time, but they're in the settings on your iPhone, and then there's on the left-hand side, there's a space that says accessibility. And that's where you can change some of the features. That's where you can find guided access as well. And you can set up a passcode and, put time limits on that as well. Like I said, there'll be that cheat sheet and it'll have the accessibility features on iOS is something you may want to take a look at to further find how to do that. But like I said, it's mostly under settings.
So one of the things that we utilize very much with Christian and he relies on is the Google Calendar. And he has an iPhone. And so we've just linked it. I think it's called Tiny Calendar is the app that we've linked it to, but it's a Google Calendar that is a shared calendar. So he can see and we can see what's on his calendar. He relies on this heavily. This is something that he needs to support him and to support us actually too. So he's not asking every 5 minutes, when am I going to see you next? So Christian lives outside of our family home in adult foster care. And he really looks forward to his times where he connects with his friends and his family. And so we can set those things up on his calendar and he can look forward to those. Then, of course, there's always the reminders of when he has appointments that he needs to attend. And so we found at first when there was non-preferred tasks on his calendar that he would delete them. So Christian actually has 2 calendars on his phone. One is one that he can mess with and change as much as he wants. And then the other one where we have non-preferred tasks or appointments that he cannot delete. And that works really well. You can see on this slide in the bottom corner that you can customize by color different family members. And you can kind of see that what we've used for all of our kids is this calendar app. And so my husband and I each have our own calendar. My kids all have their own calendar, and we can all share it with each other and see what everybody's doing. And it's a great way to see when they all have sports activities and they're all going in different directions, who has what when. We also have printed this out and put it on the fridge. So we'll have a whole week, and then, it's a visual that's not necessarily locked into the phone when maybe the phone isn't with the individual at night during quiet hours, or during the day when they don't have access to the phone because they're not using technology. They still had a printed copy that they could go and refer to. And just that whole interaction of, I don't have to ask all the time what the next thing is coming up. I can look on my phone or on the paper calendar. Really helped with the level of irritation on both the parent and the family members' part. So we really love the Google Calendar app.
I think it's also important too, because a lot of our school districts are Google-based districts. And so they're using, Google Docs and Google Slides, and they're using Google Calendar. So it's kind of a nice transition. And if they're using it at school, they're also using it at home to help with some of those generalization of skills.
So Cozy was something that was shared with me by another mom, and she really loves it. We've kind of played with it a little bit. I think we're probably going to stick with Google, but it's very similar in a lot of ways. You can have a daily email sent with everybody's schedule. So every morning Warren gets an email that says you have a 10 o'clock appointment on Zoom and you have a 12 o'clock appointment on Zoom and that kind of thing. You can color code everyone's calendars. So he has a school email address and a personal email address. And so that's technically 2 separate calendars. We can make them the same color. So for him, it really just looks like one calendar. And that's true in both Cozy and Google. The thing about Cozy that's really nice is they have shared lists, like to-do lists, shopping lists, that kind of thing. So we can all see the shared lists and we can all edit the shared lists, which is really helpful if all the family members check them, which my husband and my son are not so great with. But it's pretty cool. It does have a lot of ads in it. There is a paid version which unlocks like a birthday tracking and an ability to view the calendar in a monthly fashion rather than just the sort of digest version that you get where you see 2 or 3 days at a time. It's kind of more like a list. But it's a pretty cool program, and it's free to play with, so it's worth a try.
Okay, so these are two separate apps that I use pretty regularly with kids all the way in preschool, all the way up until 21. It's called ChoiceWorks, and then there's ChoiceWorks Calendar, which is a separate app. Right now, these are just iOS based, so I don't think that there is an Android version of it. But this is a really great tool that can help teach students routine, understand different time concepts, help them be more independent, and then help them stay on task. It's best for students who have emerging literacy skills or for those who still need pictures to help them understand different ideas and concepts. I wouldn't necessarily use this for a kid who can read a checklist and he may not need the pictures to help him understand. It has a big picture library, but you can also take your own pictures or videos to add in there. It has timers, and it can also be printed off as a PDF, and you can have a hard copy of it as well. And we use this all the time for like not just daily schedules, but also for small kind of embedded routines. So hand washing or how to an arrival routine in school, hang up backpack, take off coat, that kind of thing. And I know, Jenny, you've used this before, I believe, with your son.
Yeah, one of the things that we did early on is we embedded a lot in his ISP about being independent. And so we actually were able to fund the ChoiceWorks app through DD Services. They paid for Christian to have that. So if you have goals in your ISP that are specific to creating routines and independence, let your case manager know and have a conversation about whether this can be something that they could pay for. So one of the things that we used the ChoiceWorks app for, which helped Christian's chores around the house become more independent, was the laundry was something that he was kind of struggling with all of the steps. And so breaking it down into smaller chunks and him being able to see on his little iPad, because he had a mini iPad that was also funded through an ISP goal. And so his iPad mini had the laundry as the title of the routine, and then we broke it down into smaller steps. So first you put the laundry into the machine, and then you have the part where you have to put the detergent. And we had actually a plastic cup because we were not around when there were little pods. Back then it was liquid laundry. And so we actually had a smaller container that he could pour himself, and it would go into a plastic cup that had a permanent marker line, so he knew where to pour it to. And then the picture showed him putting the detergent into the laundry, into the washing machine, and then closing the door, and then an arrow that we made with duct tape on the start button where he needed to turn the dial to. And then the steps of, okay, once the laundry's done, then you're gonna move it to the dryer. And then we had that routine broken down again too. You gotta test, to make sure it's dry. And then when you remove it, how you are then gonna fold the clothes. And I think one of the other things that we learned through this process is really listening to Christian and how when he's doing a task, what is helpful to him. And we discovered that Christian really struggled with fine motor and folding clothes. And so at some point, he really indicated that hanging his clothes up was way more effective for him. So once he learned how to put his clothes on a hanger, that's how he ended up having all of his clothes. So even today, 7 years after we started the process of working through this particular routine, he now hangs everything. T-shirts, sweatshirts, what normally we would have put in a drawer. We did start in the beginning with labeling the drawers so he knew which item of clothing went in which drawer. But as we went through the process of this routine, it became very evident And back then, Christian used assistive technology for communication. And so it was just really trial and error trying to figure out what worked for him. So be really intuitive to listening to what they want to be independent in the skill that you're giving them. Because sometimes I think we do this with our other kids as well. You know, it's like, this is the way I do it. This is the way my mom did it. And so this is the way you're going to do it. And so Christian has taught us, you know, many times that that's not the way he wants to do it. So yes, I really love the ChoiceWorks app. It was a very effective way of breaking down that routine.
I love that. Thanks, Jenny. I feel like, you know, you got to learn to be flexible and follow our kids' leads and what's important to them. That's a very good point. I wanted to show you a quick demo of what ChoiceWorks looks like. I think it helps show you.
Okay, so this one is really cool. It's not related to disability at all. It was just a free app that we found kind of by accident. You can use it with the fancy Bluetooth connected toothbrush if you have one, but you also can just use it with a regular toothbrush. It's on iOS and Android. You can have it do brushing reminders. We haven't really used those too much at our house, but also you can kind of see on the bottom right side, there's sort of a graph. And so I can see if my kids have used it in the morning and the evening. We did have to kind of be a little careful because my kids figured out that you didn't have to actually brush your teeth. As long as you push the button, it says that you brushed your teeth. So there was a brief period of time where that was kind of a factor, but it's really visible or visual, and it's really fun. And so if we go to the next slide, there's a little bit of a video. So you can have multiple profiles. And he's sad because he has to brush his teeth.
Time for a tooth tutorial. When you brush, keep your toothbrush at a slight angle for a clean mouth and soft gums.
And then you just tap to start.
The bacteria bugs are invading your sparkly mouth. If you need to take a spit break, press the on off. You are polishing to perfection. Your sparkly teeth are bumpy and gross. Help! Okay, time to move over. Crazy good job, you brilliant brusher.
And so you can see there's a timer on the side that fills up, and then you can always pause it if you want to stop in the middle. So if you need to spit or take a break, if it's too much sensory wise, that's been our thing a couple times. But anyway, once it gets down to the bottom, the second video is where we'll go next.
Boss wants to turn your sparkly smile from shiny to bright.
So you get a little prize. And so then you can feed him, but not right after he's brushed. He says, no, thank you. But different prizes, you can get little clothes, you can give your alien a name. You can get clothes, you can dress him up. And then you can earn other colors and change his color. So it's just kind of a cute little fun thing.
That boss wants to turn your spot.
All right. So the next app that I wanted to share with you is called Pictello. It's another one that I use frequently in the schools with some of my teachers and staff and then the kids. Basically what it is, it's a visual story creator. So kind of think of it like a talking photo album where you can make visual schedules, you can make routines, you could put recipes in there. You could put social stories for a situation that might be new or difficult for a kid. And I've also used it for children to give presentations to class, to their class if they are like anxious getting up and presenting or if they have communication difficulties. It's really great because you can put your own videos in there, your own pictures, you can record your voice or use the digitized voice, and it will be read out loud. So I wanted to show you, we're not going to watch the whole thing for the sake of time, but a quick example of what it kind of looks like. And this is with the computerized voice of how to make macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese. Fill the pot 2/3 full of water. Put pot on the stove. Open macaroni box. Take out cheese packet. When one
So you kind of get the general idea, but it goes through the steps to help them. They can watch that before making macaroni and cheese, and then they can reference it during the activity to help keep them on task. There we go. So the next thing we're going to talk a little bit about, I know we mentioned it earlier, is video modeling. And it's a really great strategy that's evidence-based. I know Jenny and Stephanie have used it, and I use it regularly with my students. And it's to teach your child a new skill or to help them navigate a new or difficult situation. So this strategy can help break down the steps into some manageable steps and reduce anxiety around a new situation. If they know ahead of time what might happen, it really helps calm them down and gives them the expectation of what might occur. So things that you might need to do this, you'll need a device that can record videos or take pictures. So like an iPhone or an iPad or a tablet. And usually what happens is an adult will record a video of the child, the child that you want to teach, or frequently a peer completing the correct way to do a task. And that's important. It's the right way to do it. So I've made videos for many things, including washing hands, saying hi to social situations like saying hi to a friend, turning on a Chromebook and accessing Google Drive, working a vacuum cleaner, unloading the dishwasher, anything you can think of that might need steps mapped out for a kid, you can make a video model for. And I think, I was thinking you were talking, Jenny, but it's still me. So you can make video models, like I said, on your phone, but you can also download extra apps to help with that. iMovie is a free app, and that allows you to do more customization and editing. It has different features on it that just your camera phone doesn't have. You can use Pictello, which was the app we just mentioned. Story Creator app is another one. I don't know if there are other apps out there that you parents have used or teachers, but if so, I'd love to hear about them. And then also this link, How To Guides for Making Video Modeling, is a really helpful guide that will give you some pointers when you're deciding to make a video model for your child.
Yeah, so with Christian, during middle school and high school, we had a lot of behavior and a lot of pushback, especially when we were trying to create independence. And if it was mom saying that I want you to do this task, or that you should be participating in the task, there was a lot of pushback. And so at that point, we were working with a behaviorist who came up with the video modeling idea. And it was one of the things that really turned around an unpreferred task to something that Christian would participate in. And these were videos that he could watch, as Mandy said, during the time that he was actually doing the task. But Christian also, we would find him watching them at other points of his day where he was just reviewing it. And one of the things that for Christian really works is that repetition and just doing the same task over and over again, but under his terms. So if you're standing there and making him do it, he's going to say, no, I'm not going to do it. But if you just leave him with an example of the video, he would then want to do the laundry or want to do putting the trash cans out. So one of the things that I'm going to share with you right now is we always had chocolate milkshakes as a big part of Christian's life, and that still is the case. When we pick him up from his foster care home, the first thing we do is go get chocolate shake and fries from McDonald's. And so we decided that one of the things that would be really helpful is for him to figure out how to make his chocolate shake at home. And so this is one of the videos that we created. The second video that we're going to see is how we created independence with doing a chore that was a non-preferred task, which was taking the trash and the recycling bins out on a Sunday night and bringing them back in on a Monday morning. And so we used very specific tools to help him identify the different tasks. And you'll see when we get to that video that we used things that were of high interest for him. And one of the things that Christian loves is music. It's a very big part of his life. And so putting the videos to really upbeat music also was a motivator for him to watch them and to participate. If you want to start the video, Mandy.
Here we go. Shoes, red, orange, yellow, and brown. You got high tops, tennis shoes, sneakers, and flats. It's my new shoes moving me, you know that's a fact. Alright. You gotta
Fine, maybe we want
pair of shoes. It's your best friend, daddy, flying high on the swings. And your girlfriend, Susie, is an angel when she sings. Cause your mom and your dad took you down to the store, and they bought you new shoes, even though they're kind of bad. Now you're done and you're right, cause it's some kind of day, and your new shoes are gonna do whatever you say. But you know, in your heart, it would all fall apart if your new shoes hadn't given you the start. New shoes. Got your new shoes. Got your new shoes. New shoes. New shoes. New shoes. a bitter man. He spoke of women's ways. They trap you and they use you before you even know. For love is blind and you're far too kind. Don't ever let it show. I wish that I knew what I know now. But when I was young.
So as you can see, we were using things that were meaningful to Christian. One of his favorite sports games is duck football. And so we used duck football tape, duct tape to put on the ground and then on the bin to correspond. So just a couple of ideas to think about when you're breaking down tasks.
And one thing I wanted to add too, a lot of what we've done with Warren, well, it's been around going to the dentist. That's been a big thing for us. But one of the things we can do, and I've had a lot of success with varying offices, is to call the office and ask if we can go in and take pictures before we go in of like all the equipment and the x-ray machines and all that stuff. A lot of times doctors' offices have rules about not photographing employees and stuff, but if you set it up in advance, they're usually really accommodating. And then we would put those on Warren's iPad and he can just go through them when he wants to, and then it's less new and scary. And that's been really successful. I'm going to try and go kind of quickly because I know we're a little bit short on time. So one of the things we use at our house is Alexa, and we use it a lot. She can do a lot of different things. One of the things we use the most right now is reminders. She can say anything I want at any specific time. So for instance, Sam needs to get his computer set up at 9 o'clock every morning or 8:45. And so at 8:40, the speaker in the breakfast room, Sam, you got to get your computer ready. You have a meeting in 5 minutes. And then he knows to turn her off and go do that. So it takes me reminding out of the situation, which is super useful. I'm going to share my screen from my phone, theoretically. And we'll see if that works, because it makes it much easier to explain. I think I pushed the button.
And while she's sharing, I wanted to mention, you know, Alexa, it's a voice control tool that you would need the additional Amazon Echo or Google Home in your home, and that you can set up the speaker in different places in your home and use your voice to control the Echo Dot or whatever you have.
Yeah, so here's the list of reminders. The other thing that we can do, and it's really only been useful for me, but once Warren winds up having a cell phone, it'll be useful for him. When you leave or arrive at a place, you can have it talk to you and say something. So my phone reminds me when I leave my work building, hey, do you need to pick up medicine on your way home? Because 9 times out of 10, I get home and I realize I haven't picked up Warren's prescriptions. And so that's just really helpful for me. There's alarms and timers, which are great and super easy. You just ask her, hey, set a timer, and it just goes. Blueprints are amazing. They're a new thing I've just found. You can, for instance, this how many days, give Alexa an important date and she'll count down for you. So anytime that Warren wants to know how many days until Christmas, he can ask Alexa, and he doesn't have to ask me or his brother or his dad, because that's something that happens a lot. He cares very much about when holidays are. So you can set that up. There's something in here called House Guest. So you can tell her where things are and she will remember for you. So as long as you put them back where they're supposed to be, you can ask her and she'll tell you. For instance, I have misplaced all of my tablecloths. They're in a very safe place wherever they are, but I can't find them. If I had told her where I put them when I reorganized, I would be able to find them. And that's been our kind of fun thing for the week. Let's see. The other thing that she can do, which is great, are called routines, which are right here. So this really works in 2 ways. We have a lot of smart light bulbs in our house. And one of the things that Warren really loves to do is turn on all the lights and then come find me and tell me he's turned on all the lights. And during the evening, I can tell when the lights are on, but during the day, it's a little bit more difficult. So at 9 a.m. every morning, she has a routine where all of the lights turn off. I don't have to go around and turn them off. It doesn't become a really funny game because mom has to go turn all the lights off now, and we're not using crazy amounts of electricity. The other thing is you can program her to learn routines based on things. So if I say good night, she will say goodnight, turn off all the lights, and open sleep sounds on whatever speaker I was talking to. So it just kind of does a bunch of stuff for you when you know what to ask her for. I think those were all of the things I really wanted to highlight. I did find a new thing today called Care Hub, which is if you have somebody not living with you. So for instance, we could use this for my mom. So if my mom asked her to call for help, I would get a message and a call from Alexa, like a speakerphone. I could get notified about things like if she hadn't used the Alexa or if she did use it for the first time that day, things like that. And then they have something called drop-in, which is where from my phone or from another device, I can say drop in on the living room. And the living room speaker will pick up, and it's like a speakerphone, so I can hear whatever's going on. And so if there was a problem or something of that nature, I can hear what's going on. They do have ones with screens now, but we don't have those. We did just order one for our kitchen, which has a screen, and not related to disability, but Food Network, I think, has a new Alexa app where it's step-by-step food preparation with videos. So we're going to try that out, but I'm super excited about it. And I think that was everything I had to say about Alexa in a very condensed way. And I will stop sharing. There. And now that it's done, I can just say, that was really smooth. That doesn't always happen with me in technology.
Is that the
That was awesome. I know Alexa can do so much that I had no idea about, and it makes me want to buy one now.
I could talk for an hour just about Alexa, probably.
So
Easily.
cool.
Oh, and one other thing, we got them when we put Warren into homeschooling because we all understand his speech, but we needed to create situations where he needed to try a little harder to be clear with his speech, and she makes no attempt to understand him whatsoever. So for him, that's been really helpful. He will stand there and ask her to play a particular song 8 or 10 times before she finally understands him. That's not great all the time, but it does serve the purpose of making him speak a little more clearly. So the next thing that we wanted to share about was this device called Circle by Disney. And it does a lot of the same things that the iOS screen time controls do. It's a little bit different. It's a device that actually sits up next to your router and plugs in. And you make a profile for each family member. And there are different levels of control. So like my husband and I had profiles, but we didn't have any locks or barriers. My kids each have a profile, and you assign devices to their profile. So for instance, Warren's profile had his iPad, his iPod, and his school Chromebook. And then on the Circle device, I could set, he gets 1 hour for YouTube. And that was across any devices. So he could not go for an hour on YouTube on his iPad and then go do YouTube on his Chromebook. It wouldn't allow him to do that. So that has been really useful. And then you can, again, authorize more time in the same way. And yeah, there is a fee now to use it monthly. I think it's like $9.99 a month or something like that.
So Life 360 is something that we've used with Christian. Actually, all of my kids and my husband have this on their phone, and I do too. And it gives Christian the ability to have independence, but we can see where he's at by following those little bubbles that you see on the phone down there on the slide. So when Christian would get on the bus to go to school, we would see him leave our house, and then when he got to certain stops, it would be programmed into the phone that he had reached that destination, and then we could watch him walk into the school. And the same when he left his school to go to his workplace, it would show us that he had arrived at work. And for $3 a month, which is really inexpensive, we could add multiple locations. If you don't pay the $3 a month, you only get to put 2 locations on there. This is also something that Christian really enjoys because he can see when his family's doing different things. He likes to track us when we're coming to pick him up. And if he sees we haven't left our house and yet he's in 20 minutes, we're supposed to be at his house, he will call us and say, why haven't you left yet? So it's kind of a good conversation starter as well, and just another tool that you can have as a parent, and just kind of for that little bit of extra safety to know that they've actually reached the destination they were supposed to get to.
And then, excuse me, the Angel Sense device does a lot of the same things. When Warren was younger, he was a definite flight risk. We used to say, if you haven't lived until you've lost Warren. And we've had to call the police to locate him and bring him back. And it's something that I'm really glad we don't struggle with as much anymore. But the Angel Sense device functions a lot like a cell phone, in that it works in places where you have cell signal. And there's it sits in a sleeve, and there are these magnetic pins that you have to have a special, very strong magnet to remove. So it would go in the pocket of his cargo pants in the morning, and then he couldn't take it out, which was really important. It was allowed us to pull him up on a map to see where he was. And if he had gone rogue, we would activate, I think it was escape mode or tracking mode, I can't remember what it was called, but it would automatically send a link to some predetermined people, and they would also have access to a map to be able to pull up his location. And then on my phone, I could see where I was in relation to him, so that as I got closer, I could tell. It also has a two-way speakerphone, so I could call the device and it automatically picked up, and I could talk and he could hear me, which was helpful. And also you could set locations. So his school was a location, our home was a location, and I would get information. I would get a text when he left school. I would get a text when he arrived at school, and that kind of thing. So they also have like a shirt that you can put it sits on the back, or there's a belt that also is similarly difficult to remove. But it was a really important thing for us for a long time.
Okay, I know we're running a few minutes over. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I wanted to share a couple helpful websites. Do to Learn was one that I just learned about yesterday from Jenny, I believe, and it has a lot of information. It has some tools for creating visual supports and routines. Autism Little Learners is another one that's a blog that has some great ideas and tips. Using Alexa at home ideas, just some other ways that we could use Alexa and incorporate it into our daily lives, and then a guide to video modeling on how to create some of those videos. So there's, like I mentioned, there's a 2-page handout that Jenny will be sending along with these slides that has links with more information about the tools and apps that we talked about today. So please take a look at that if you want more information for follow-up. And then I just wanted to open the floor to any questions or thoughts or ideas. We really appreciate you guys being here with us today and taking time out of your schedule.
There was two things. This is Callie, and there was two things that I typed into the chat as well that kind of piggybacked onto the ChoiceWorks app. But there's a calendar ChoiceWorks app that we use for our daughter, where we can add a sleepover with a friend, or her birthday, or friends' birthdays. And similarly, you can go to the 1, 2, 3 feature at the top, and you can select what you want to count down to. And it'll count down visually the numbers to the day as well, which was pretty cool. And then similarly with to the Angel Senses, we have the Verizon Gizmo Watch, which is a little easier to remove than the Angel Sense, but is really helpful in promoting independence and being able to track location and have safe adults and people that she can contact in an emergency and that kind of stuff. So those were a couple things in the chat, and Yesenia has her hand raised. Yesenia, I'm going to give you permission to speak and try to unmute yourself. Can you unmute?
I can see that she put something into the chat earlier. I can read that if she can't unmute.
I'm trying to give her a chance to unmute. I gave her permission. Yesenia, can you try to unmute yourself?
She says it won't let her.
Oh, okay.
So the thing that she had put into the chat says, my son is visually impaired. We received a grant from CODSN and was able to get a wireless switch transmitter and receiver. Do you have any apps that you recommend for him to use, or websites? I think that's probably for Amanda.
A wireless switch and a wireless switch and transmitter. Was that right?
Transmitter and receiver, it says.
I guess I would need more information about the purpose of it. off the top of my head, when I think of a switch, I think of something that like a child would hit to activate something. I'm not sure what, I guess I would need more information about what it was, the intended uses.
She does say correct, Amanda. That is what it's for, is to activate to do something.
Okay. And so wireless too, I wonder if it's supposed to be connected to an iPad or to a computer to access different websites. And I guess the reason I needed more clarification, there's a ton of different switches out there, and there's a lot, we, at least at AT Center, have a variety of different wireless switches. I know that you can hook up a wireless switch to an iPad. You can also have a plug-in one that can plug into computers to access cause and effect type websites. There's a variety of different like literacy-based websites where you can hit the switch and it'll turn the page and something will be read out loud to you. So I guess I would just need more information about what the intended purpose of it was for.
Did you see in the chat, Amanda, she has said that she was hoping to use it to pause and start YouTube videos, but she wasn't sure if that's possible for him to start and stop those videos.
Yeah, definitely. There's a website called Tar Heel Gameplay where you can create, you could take a YouTube video of a favorite song or a favorite clip from, a movie, and you can program it to start playing when the kid hits the switch. So a button will come up that'll say play, and your son would hit the switch, and then it would play for 15 seconds or however long you program it for, and then it would stop playing. And then when your son wanted to play it again, he would hit the switch and then it would continue to play. That would be something I'm assuming that your son, if he's visually impaired, is hooked up with a vision person, a vision specialist, as well as an assistive technology specialist. And if not, I would highly recommend that you talk to your case manager to get him hooked up with some services.
Amanda, what was the name of the website that you said? Was it tarheeledgameplay.com?
Yeah, I can try to put it in the chat.
I tried to put it in the chat. I just wanted to make sure I was spelling it correctly. tarheeledgameplay.com.
Yeah, I think it's a .com. There's also Tar Heel Reader, which is another one, but that's more books that people have created. Both of those are really cool, but like I said, it's you can definitely, it's pretty easy to like figure out how to work it, but if you want more support, there are people there who want to help you with that and would love to support you in that way. .org.
Great question.
Oh, and awesome. It looks like, yes, he has a vision therapist and occupational therapist. And Yesenia, are you out in Harney or are you in, what was the other one? Klamath?
She's in Klamath.
Klamath? Okay. I'm not totally sure. I don't think we serve Klamath, so it must be a different ESD that does. But I would say, hey, I went to this this webinar and I'd love to find out more how I can use this switch with my son. And your vision therapist or occupational therapist or assistive technology specialist could probably help you out with that. If not, you have my contact info, which is on the last slide. Feel free to email me and use me as a reference or as a tool to help kind of get you on your way.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and Amanda, do you have one last slide you wanted to click through before I close?
Oh, just our contact info. Mine is at the ESD and then Jenny's and Stephanie's is at CUDSN. So like I said, feel free to email us with questions.
We had one more question from Colleen, and I think this is for Stephanie. She wanted to know if Alexa was connected to your iPhone.
Yes, there's an app. So you can do it with iOS or Android. There's an Alexa app that you download. and everything to control her is through there. You can do some setting through like the speakers, but it's way more complicated. And everything kind of runs through the app. And even preparing for this presentation, I found like 3 or 4 more things that I haven't tried yet. But there's lots of setup wizards, and they really guide you through setting up all those blueprints and things like that.
Okay, great.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close us out because I know that we already are a little bit over our time, but we appreciate you guys joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and show you just a quick announcement slide of 2 more trainings we have coming up tomorrow and Thursday. These are listed on our website under the October through December events. You can register and join those. They're also recorded. And then don't forget to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar today. When this closes out, there'll be a link, and you will also get a link in your email. Make sure you fill that out, and we will mail the self-care kit to whoever's name is drawn. And we appreciate you guys joining us today.